please start with your deliberation. I'll just stop sharing this slide.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Can you hear me?
Yes, Pallata, we can hear
Okay.
you.
So I have a standby connection. I am at a very remote location. So I have a standby connection. Any moment it gets disrupted, please let me know. You can either call me on my mobile or maybe on the message. I'll change my this thing. But first of all, thank you, Mahasheda and Dr. Mukherjee, for giving me this opportunity again. I think this is the second time I'm having an opportunity of coming to you and sharing my experience. So I'll just share a document. Just let me know when you can see that. Sorry, are you able to see my document?
Yeah, it is not full slide.
Yes,
Yes.
full slide. Okay. Thank you so much. And I was just overhearing. My apologies for joining a little late, but I was just overhearing the earlier two speakers, and it was really amazing to see the kind of insights which has come, through the deliberation. So before I start, towards Digital India, I want to say, I think many of you know that India is already the sixth largest economy in the nominal terms and third largest in the purchasing power parity terms. Okay. Many times we actually ignore the concept of purchasing power parity, but this is something which is very important for us to know. At the same time, the per capita income for India on nominal terms is 145th, and on the purchasing power parity, it is 122. Even if you take 140 crore population, and if we have to reach a $10,000 per capita income, you can just imagine how much it is going to be, because at this point in time it's around $2,200 in the nominal term. Of course, in the purchasing power parity terms, it's more, and it's around 7,000. So I think we have a huge amount of opportunity which is lying in front of us, and the fact that starting from the 180 till 18th century, for 18 centuries, India and China, they were the two largest economies, in between the two. So sometimes for 100 years or 200 years, it would be India, and followed by China, followed by India and all. So I think maybe not in our generation, but in the coming generation, we'll definitely see India. China is already on the way, on the top, and India, getting to the top again. So there is a huge opportunity. Now, the topic, given to me is really a very vast topic. I have tried to kind of get a little bit of understanding about what digital is, because many people are talking about many different things, and what are the practical aspects or implications which are implementable, and what are the good ideas which can come if you think around that. And then lastly, I have tried to cover that what are the aspiration of the Indian youth from this the Digital India initiative, or what can be done. So a little bit around the history. So all of you know that end of the 18th century, actually, there was a move from the manual craft work to the mechanized production, because we could harness the water and steam. Okay, so the steam engines came into the being, and it was invented. And because of that, and this actually led to a very high amount of productivity, and this actually increased the capacity utilization. And you will see for each stage, the quality of the life of the human kind and human being, as well as the comfort has actually increased. So this actually happened in first mechanical loom, which was used in 1784. And this is actually the time when the Europe actually started to grow bigger and bigger. The economy became bigger and bigger, and India and China actually fell behind. So that continued for quite some time. And end of the 19th century, so the electricity was invented. And when electricity was invented, so prior to that, everything was steam. So all of us, who are old enough have seen the steam engines in the railway. But nowadays, those are not available now. Either it's diesel, and largely it is actually electricity driven. So this was actually the first time the industrial application was happened in Cincinnati slaughterhouse. Okay. So it was used for slaughtering the animals and then, taking the flesh out of that. And that happened in 1870. So after that, a lot of things have happened. Okay, so after the electricity was invented, there's a lot of change which has happened, and a lot of improvement in the quality of life, and a different kind of a mechanization which happened. If you go further, then you actually get end of the 20th century. We call it, the atomization. So atomization means all the semiconductors, were invented, and we started actually producing semiconductors, and then we started programmable logic controllers in the industrial setting, all the flight controls, all the boiler controls, all the different kind of controls that we have. They use the PLCs and all. Okay, so that actually gives a different level of productivity. That gives a different level of competitive advantage, and that gave a different level of automation. So in fact, when I joined in 1991 in Tata Steel, I actually my first posting was in Machinel, and then in there I saw actually the whole controllers were mechanical controllers. So it is so the mechanical relays and all. But nowadays, you don't even get those even in the museum, because nowadays all these things have been actually converted or replaced by the programmable logic controller. And if you look at the present, so at present is the era of the digitalization. Okay, so that in digitalization, the physical world, the digital world, and the virtual world are actually colliding together. Okay, and it's helping to create smart products, procedures, and processes, and smart factories. We'll talk about that a little bit more as we go forward. And this is being brought on primarily by the cyber physical systems and the Internet of Things. Okay, so we'll talk a little bit more about as we go ahead on those things. So today we can say that we are in the path of digitalization. I will not say that we have already completed that. A lot of work needs to happen at the government level. A lot of work needs to happen at the private sector level to reach a very high maturity level in the digitalization. We are just scratching the surface at this point in time. There are some areas like fintech and edutech and all where we may be leading the world in a way, but there are way to go. So if you look at the technological breakthroughs which is enabling the digitalization, so say the first thing is the Internet of Things. Okay, so because these terms are actually interchangeably used and they are quite confusing, I thought that I'll just clarify in simple sentences. And in the subsequent slides, I'd also like to give you some examples, okay, so that it can actually fire the imagination in your mind. Okay, so if you look at the Internet of Things, it's a network of the physical objects, okay, and that are embedded with the sensor. So to give a very small example, suppose you run a car, okay, and what is the temperature of the engine, okay? So you will see in the dashboard that there is a temperature sensor which actually senses it, and it gives you the temperatures, okay, and beyond a certain point it will not allow you to start the engine. Okay, now this is basically to take care of the engine health. Okay, now software then and connecting those and exchanging data with the other systems over the internet. So this is a very simple example, whatever I told you, but when you connect multiple things together and you exchange data, then it becomes Internet of Things. So for an example, your car manufacturer sitting at their dashboard can actually monitor each and every vehicle. Okay, the technology has reached to that level. Only thing is that those vehicles will become very costly to purchase, but slowly we'll go to that level, wherein a person sitting at a console can actually monitor each and every vehicle, the functioning of each and every vehicle, to the extent that if somebody is sleeping while driving the vehicle, that can be sensed and that can be connected, and somebody can actually give a buzzer, or somebody can actually call that person that you were sleeping and you were driving. So that kind of advancement is possible in terms of the technology, and we call it Internet of Things. Let's come to the next one, which is augmented reality. So augmented reality is like, say for an example, you are sitting at a place and you are actually wearing a goggles, high-tech goggles, and you can actually sense, you can actually see that you are at the North Pole, and a situation can be created wherein you will actually feel physically also that you are in the North Pole. Okay, so this is the kind of power which gives which is given by the augmented reality. So it provides us a composite view of the by superimposing a computer generated image on the user views of the real world. Okay, so we'll talk a little bit more about the applications. Then you have the wearables. Wearables, like nowadays we all are using smart watch. You can actually see your pulse. You can see your oxygen level in your body. So these are the wearables. Okay, and we'll come to the very good applications of the wearables and how the wearables can be used for tracking individuals, for tracking animals, for tracking different other things. Okay, then the next is the advanced robotics. Okay, so we all know about the robot. Robot means whoever can do my job is a robot. Okay, if the driverless car comes, then I would say that that itself is a robot. Okay, because you don't have to do just to sit in the car and then the car is driven automatically. But nowadays, there is something which is called cobotics. So cobotics means the robots are actually helping the human being in terms of increasing their efficiency and effectiveness. Okay, so that's also something which is it's an advanced area. Then 3D printing. So normally whenever we do print, it's on it's on pages. Okay, but 3D printing means you can actually print a cup. Okay, or you can print. Nowadays, a lot of 3D printing is utilized for printing replaceable body parts like knee caps or maybe the skull or those kind of things, where there's a lot of precision which is required. So there are printers available through which you can do that. Okay, in fact, if you go to the Kolkata airport, there is a Durga idol. Okay, so Durga Murti, which is actually 3D printed and it is placed in the airport. Then let's come on to cloud computing. So earlier, you used to have all the servers and everything at your place, the hardwares and everything to actually get the the IT services. But nowadays it's not required. You can simply hire. Someone is keeping those memory available at maybe Switzerland or some places under the Alps or maybe under the sea for cooling purpose, and you can actually acquire the service and you can pay for it. So this is what is the cloud computing. And earlier, so what happens is that if you want a very little amount of data backup or something, you can actually buy it. It's not necessary for you to buy a huge amount of hardware and then keep it and maintain it at your location. Very interesting thing. All of us, we know today about the blockchain, and we also know about how the blockchain technology is actually used for creating all these cyber things. So it's basically nothing but a system of recording information in a way that make it very difficult and or impossible to change, hack, or cheat the system. And that's why it is used for I mean, cyber criminals also cannot do anything about it. And cryptocurrencies and all, they are actually using it a lot nowadays. And then we come to the advanced analytics. Now, advanced analytics is it's an autonomous or semi-autonomous examination of the data using sophisticated techniques like machine learning and discovering deeper insight and making predictions or generating recommendations. So, for an example, so suppose there is a highway which is 200 or 300 kilometer long, and you can actually use you can take the data from the highway. And if you use by using the machine learning and advanced analytics, you can find out which stretch of the particular highway is actually more accident prone. Okay, and therefore you can put either the speed breakers or you can put something to caution the drivers and others. Okay, so those kind of things can be are the applications of the advanced analytics. So these are the different things. I think I should clarify these because many a times it gets confused between different things. But let's see, without getting into the details, that what are some kind of an applications and how that is creating a lot of opportunity for us, the whole digital platforms. So if you look at artificial intelligence, so let me just give you one example. So Finnish IT firm Tieto have actually opted to include AI as a part of their leadership team to make a decision based on the data and evidence. So what happens is that when as a human being we take decision, we definitely take decision on two components. One is the data, and the other is our experience, or we call it a heuristic. Okay. Now, many times there are inherent biases. Okay. But if you look at the artificial intelligence based technology, those will not have any biases. Okay. So therefore, some of the firms, some of the global firms, they are actually one of the board member. Okay. Like they said that, one of the board member is some name Mr. X. Okay. And that Mr. X is nothing but an artificial intelligence. Okay, it's not necessary that all the decisions or all the deductions which come to the artificial intelligence are actually part of should be implemented. It's just like any other board member giving you the idea, and then you may adopt it, you may not adopt it as well. Okay, so it has reached to that particular level. Okay, wherein there are a lot of data and the human mind cannot calculate it properly. We'll have biases to take decision on the basis of that. So the advanced analytics can, artificial intelligence can help in terms of decluttering those and then actually bringing up the real issues and presenting it in front of the board so that the decision can be taken. Okay, so anything which is repetitive and anything which is rule based actually will have much better accuracy, and the whole processing can happen in the lesser time. So this is what is artificial intelligence. See, look at Internet of Things. So one of the example of the Internet of Things is on the, say, for better quality management or keeping the raw material, the processed goods in the optimum conditions. Okay, it's also used for tracking the goods in transfer. So you have very say for an example, you have high value items which are being transferred. Okay, and there is a fear that it may get lost in between somewhere in the supply chain. So you put IoT on that. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Palak.
Okay, no, because there is a power cut, and that's why I was thinking that probably I've got lost. Okay, no problem. Thank you. Yes. Okay. Right. So I was talking about this, sorry, it's going to augmented reality. So Internet of Things. Okay. Similarly, say for an example, another thing could be a very large industrial setup and the process industries. So you have sensors in each and every place, and then you actually take the data in a console, and you can have a better control over the whole industrial production system or mechanism, so that your productivity enhances, your breakdown reduces, as well as you can have a better quality. The other thing which may be applicable for the Northeast is there is a startup firm. I think we have been talking a lot with the startup, and they actually came up with a mechanism by which they will put the they'll put the Internet of Things sensors, IoT sensors, in the soil. Okay, and in India there's a lot of wastage of insecticides, all these things, even water and any resources for agriculture, because we do not know exactly at what point in time what is to be put. Okay, it's traditionally done on the experience basis. But if you look at the mechanism with which they have come up, and this has been done, I think, for the first time or second time in the world, that they'll put the sensors in the different part of the soil and in the field, and that will sense the moisture content, that will sense maybe the nitrogen content and the other different parameters. And on the basis of that, it will say that how much of dosage of the fertilizer is to be put, how much of the dosage of the water is to be given. So this actually helps in terms of not overusing, okay, the resources, which has definitely got a detrimental impact because of these chemicals and all in the future, and also the water conservation and also the electricity conservation. So that is something which is a very live example, and I'm sure that's something which can be used in the fields in the Northeast, which will help us in terms of improving the productivity and at the same time optimize the cost which is used, which goes for the agriculture. There are numerous examples. Okay, I'm just giving some glimpses of it, so that there is an ignition of the imagination in your mind, the students' mind particularly, and they can actually think in future more innovatively. Augmented reality, to give a very simple example, we are working with a foundry manufacturing company in the western part of India. And in foundry, what happens is that you have to come and inspect the foundry. You have to inspect the processes before you actually place an order. Because of the pandemic, no travel was allowed, and most of the clients or the customers were from abroad. So we actually took help of the augmented reality, wherein even a particular customers sitting in France can actually see the processes in the foundry, how it is being done, and all this kind of a thing. Okay, and this actually helps in terms of him to give suggestions, what is correct, what is not correct, or whether they approve the processes for their for order placement or not. So that's the power of augmented reality. Another example to give you, like for an example for Northeast, uh, 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 a lot of people spend a lot of money for the medical tourism. Okay, because there is not much. I would not say that the medical facilities are not available. They are available, but even for a second opinion or even for a better treatment, people will come to Kolkata, Vellore, Delhi, Hyderabad, and different places. Actually, augmented reality can actually help us to solve the problem, wherein very complicated operations actually can be done by the consultant physician, doctor sitting at Delhi or Ahmedabad or any other places in India, while in actual the physical operation will take place in Agartala or Guwahati or Imphal. So that's the kind of technological advancement which has actually happened. Uh, mm, a little bit of it was possible. Even I have personally witnessed during the COVID period, wherein getting to the hospital after you get COVID infected was very difficult. But we had the doctor consultations. I will not call it exactly. It's a very crude form of augmented reality, where the doctor sees you and tells you to do the over a video conferencing, and therefore eliminating the whole kind of the need for going to the hospital and all. So this is something which can be used for solving, many other problems which the society faces. Going to the wearable, all of us know we have smart watches nowadays and everything. But some of the good examples, like when people become old, they tend to become forgetful. Okay, so dementia happens, and then it's very difficult because somebody with dementia may go out on the road and go away, and they don't know where they're going, and it's very difficult to track them. So nowadays, if you just give them in wearables, and it's so easy to track them. The second thing is that in the mining of operations, which is a very dangerous operations, the wearables are given to the employees, the miners, and exactly the location of each and every miner inside the mine. Okay, whether it's underground mine or it's a open cast mine. And in case of any say problem, or in case of any the mining accidents happen. In case of the mining accidents and all, earlier you never used to know who is where, so the probability of rescuing somebody became very difficult. But nowadays, because of these wearables, the exact location, GPS location of the person, and you can actually take a better decision in terms of which area to dig to and where to go and how to rescue them. In fact, during the COVID period, when the factories are shut and then the factories are open, there was a lot of fear that if somebody goes to the factory and do the work, or goes to the office and do the work, they may actually catch infection. So this actually there is a solution which was designed using the wearables through which this actually was contained. So there are containment zones which were created, and this was done. I know I'm going a little extra on the time, but let me just quickly cover it up. Yeah. So the advanced robotics. Just another example is is the Mako surgical knee replacement orthopedic robot. Actually, was to perform a CT scan on the patient's knee and 3D print an accurate model of the joint, because the different people will have a different joint architecture. Okay, and that actually assisted with the pre-surgery planning, which can be actually tailored for each patient, and you are less dependent on the doctor's experience, and you are more dependent on the technology, and it becomes more and more accurate. I have not witnessed, but I have heard that some minor surgeries and all which are nowadays being conducted by the robot actually are more accurate and more successful as compared to the surgeries which are done by the human being or the human doctor. Coming to 3D printing. So 3D printing. This was also a very news to me. Like Airbus is actually talking about constructing entire airplane with the large scale 3D printers. Similarly, say for an example, if you look at the auto component industry, there are new product which are developed. Now, when you develop the new product, there is something which is called prototype. Okay, so first of all, you have to develop the prototype, you have to manufacture that, and then you have to use it. And it is a very high precision kind of things. Okay, and it becomes extremely difficult, and it takes around 18 months or sometimes 24 months or 36 months to develop those prototype. Okay, so when you see a new car or new bike on the road, actually the work starts at least 4 or 5 years back for the new design. Using this 3D kind of printing or the printers, this time has been reduced at a very reduced to has been reduced substantially, I would say. And the other application of the 3D printing nowadays, which is being used, is also for manufacturing body part. So, okay, so for an example, some skull replacement is required, or specific valve replacement is required for the heart and all. So, few places they are experimenting with that, and few places, they have already done it. Cloud computing, I think, this doesn't need much of an explanation, but this is something which is easy nowadays to buy small quantity of technological capability without any hassle, and therefore it becomes easier for any investor or for any entrepreneur to have those kind of capabilities built up. This is blockchain. This is something which is, it's a lot of experiment which is going on, a lot of discussion which is going on. In fact, at one point in time, it is being told that you have something which is called external auditing, okay, which is done for the public sector companies, private sector, or any company. It needs to get it done by the chartered accountants. So it's actually being told, I don't know how far of it is true, is that once the blockchain-based whole reporting mechanism is implemented, you actually don't have to have any auditors because everything is back to back. So for an example, you say there's a dividend credit, so 1 rupee spent, then 1 rupee somebody has got it. So it's like a company is paying to a vendor, say 10 rupees, and the vendor has got 10 rupees, and it is all coded back to back. Okay, so there is nothing that you need to do any audit or assessment. Coming to the digitalization of in India, so we know Aadhaar, over 130 crore of the adult population which have been covered. And let me tell you that we need to feel proud about it because there are very few countries who have done it. And this is something which can be used for improving the transparency and doing the business in a much better way. Similarly, there are 142 countries who are talking to India for copying this CoWIN, and I hope that we cover all our netizens before supporting others. Then FASTag we all know about. Oyo, is the largest hotelier. So who is the largest hotelier today? And they don't have any hotel property or hotel rooms, but they are the largest hotelier today in the world. What is going on in the digital payment systems and as well as in the smart city. So let me just keep that. There's a lot of things which are going on in the education sector, and I will, for the the paucity of the time, I'll just say that the way we view education probably will change. Okay, it may not be necessary. Why we would like to go to an IIT? Okay, you would like to go to an IIT because you get the best of the facilities, you get the best of the professors. Okay, now what happens if the same professor is videotaping his lecture and putting it free to the YouTube? Okay, you'll probably get the same quality of education even without going to the IIT. So I think the whole concept of the education is going to change, and it may not be necessary in the coming future to go to a university to get a degree, okay, or to get a skill. And it may not be necessary to get a job. When to get a job, you need to have a degree from a particular institute. But what will be more important going forward is the skill and knowledge, and not necessarily the university degree. So I have a thing in my mind which I share with you, that probably going forward you would not look for getting a BSc degree or BA degree or MTech degree or BTech degree. A day may come in the world in the future wherein you will be known for your skills and knowledge, and you actually get the jobs or you do your business basis that, and the whole concept of the degree may actually go away, and we are slowly going ahead in that particular direction. So if I look at, I have exhausted my time, and sorry for that. It's already, I think I was sorry, 1:05, yeah. So if you look at the aspirations of the Indian youth, so I think using the Digital India initiative, and particularly for the Northeast, I think so at the so what I've done is, I have superimposed the aspirations on the Maslow's need hierarchy model, okay, to see that what are the different things which comes. So if you look at the physiological needs, probably the digital can be used to give us better safety, or maybe say if you look at the food, okay, so autonomous tractor or use of the sorry. I was just looking at the message. Yeah. So maybe autonomous tractor or education. The farm. A lot of improvement in the farm sector, farming sector can actually help us in terms of the physiological needs. Safety. We all know that the blockchain can actually help us in terms of bringing the transparency, reducing the cheating cases, and many other things. Even if you look at the local safety and security cover, which is done by the police by using the cameras at different locations and doing using artificial intelligence, and therefore identifying the criminal mentality proactively and not allowing the crime to happen, can actually be a big thing for us. With regard to the social needs, I think physically challenged people cannot go to the top of the Everest. We can use artificial intelligence and the virtual reality to give them a feeling that they have actually gone to the top of the Everest. Okay, so this is possible. With regard to the self-esteem, there are different things which can happen. Like you can express yourself in the social media platform. Earlier, it used to be very difficult, and you can actually become a star through by using the social media platform. There are many stars nowadays. In fact, I was reading an article which said that in the US, earlier there was a different methodology which used to be followed for selecting the stars or actor and actresses for the for any movie. But nowadays it is actually changed. It is actually how many social media followers are there, what kind of. So there is an artificial intelligence which is used to create an image of the particular personality before they actually go to the movie, because they become the movie star and actor and actresses, so that the probability of success actually becomes higher. Okay, and of course, yeah. Sorry, and my last one is the self-actualization. So in fact, many a times we do not know our behaviors. We do not know what you like and what you don't like, and we don't know how to become happy. So if we have, if we actually start keeping data on ourselves, okay, what are our preferences? What are our, what gives me encouragement? What gives me, enthusiasm? And then actually, if we use the artificial intelligence to analyze the data, and we can find out what actually makes me happier, what is my preferences. And I really know that, because it's actually a fact that many of us go through the life journey without knowing what makes us happy, and what is it I'm looking for. See, end of the day, all of us ask us these questions. I'm an engineer, I'm an MBA, I'm a doctor, but end of the life, what is it that you are looking for? What makes you happy? And that's the question which has been always inspiring Indian youth to actually leave the families and go in the process of whole monkhood and other things. Okay, so maybe there are various different things which can be done using the digital platforms to understand what I like, what I don't like, what are my preferences, and what I would like to do with my life, kind of things, and then take decisions accordingly, which help me in self-actualization, my self-actualization. So these are the thoughts. Many of it actually looks a little different or little challenging, the existing norms. Just wanted to leave it to you. My apologies for for actually crossing the time limit by almost, I think, some 15-20 minutes. That's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pallabda. It was a great deliberation, and I could not take my eyes off even for a single minute. It was so interesting. In fact, we are planning to do PhDs of a scholar in the area of AI and supply chain, and like it was a wonderful deliberation and such a great justification for the topic. And I would like to thank you so much that you took time out of your busy schedule, and now you are in a holiday also. We are really sorry for you, but grateful to you for being here with us.
Thank you, Pallabda, for giving a very good session from our NIRD parameter. So we request you again come and give a very good session with our participants, because our penetration is the last grassroots level of the country. That is, we are under Ministry of Rural Development. And another thing today I want to tell you, that is we are running this program through a LMS that is developed by me, and that is I installed, that is a open source technology. So this LMS is running, and this is running in the Google Cloud platform. So we are using the cloud as well as open source technology LMS, and this program is running with it. Although we are not using the meeting tools that is open source, that is we are using the WebEx platform for the meeting tools. So I think I don't waste that time. I can request Devorsi sir for calling for our next delegate.
We have
For
3 more
going.
questions
Yeah,
actually.
we have just couple of questions are there. We'll just take it up. Yeah, Dr. Mahashwata, you can
Sure.
just take quick
So,
ones. Yeah.
Pallab, one of the question is, does the concept of atomization mean that India has a greater chance of producing quality products as part of global value chains, GVCs? It's the question from Abhishek Vijay Gopal.
Yeah, Abhishek, I think it's a very important question. And let me tell you that when I said that India will become one day, may not be in our lifetime, again, at the top, because it has to. With 30 crore population, with political stability, with the kind of mindset that we have, okay, and the kind of heritage that we have carried, it has to become. It's only a matter of decades, or maybe 100 years or 150 years. So one thing, what happens is that I always say that if you can produce anything at the cheapest rate, okay, and at the best quality, India is not your market. World is your market. Okay. So just imagine that you are the producer of a car which is the cheapest and the best quality. Okay. What is the market? You can export, and you can actually kill any competition even in the US, which was done by China to a certain extent. Okay. Now there are different other geopolitical dimensions which are coming to that, and we're talking about one plus. Okay. One plus means we should not depend only on China. We should depend on one plus means China plus somebody else. So absolutely, you should be able to, if you are able to reach that level of quality, if you are able to reach that level of productivity, and therefore that level of, when I say the productivity is not for a particular product, but it's a national productivity, and if you can, do at the cheapest rate, what is the market? And in some of the cases, some of the products, if you look at auto component casting, if you look at Tata Steel, like Tata Steel is the cheapest producer of steel in the world. Okay, but not for their European function, it's for their Indian function. Okay, so anybody you look at, there are, so and the next we are talking about the Indian multinationals. So we know Nestle, we know Unilever. Okay, we know all those companies are actually multinationals who have set up their shop in India. But nowadays we are talking about Indian multinationals, because India is setting up shops all across the world, and that is something which is going to come with when we really focus on the quality, we focus on and let me tell you that in the services we are way ahead. Okay, maybe on the products or the manufacturing we have a long way to go, but if you look at the services, we are way ahead as compared to many other countries. Yes.
So we have second question on AI in healthcare from Dr. Shomin Mukherjee, S. Mukherjee. So I would request S. Mukherjee to ask the question. Or we carry on with the third query as we are running. We have to start the fourth keynote session. The third query is from Devarjit Bandyopadhyay. He's saying, we know that India is already facing big issues related to unemployment. And as we know, digitalization is the next step of automation. And without automation, digitalization can never be achieved. And automation will lead to more unemployment, but sidewise, digitalization is also very important for India to be a superpower. So, sir, policies can the government take to achieve the vision of digital India?
Yes, I think this is a very good question, and let me tell you that this is a big confusion even I also had when the first computer was introduced in India. Okay, so just imagine if we would not have embraced the computers. Okay, in 1900, late 1980s and early 1990s. Okay, would you have had Infosys? Would you have had Wipro? Would you have had any? So so if you really look at the past or the history of the last 200 years, as I mentioned, each time my first slide actually talks about the mechanization, the steam powered, and then it talks about the electricity, and then it talks about the chips, and the computer and the digitalization. Each and every phase, you can see the world population has increased. Okay, the world population has increased, world prosperity has increased, the quality of life has increased. In fact, the overall level of employment has increased. Can you compare how many people are working in 1900 or 1910 or 1920, and how many people are all over the world are actually working in 2020? So I think that's something which we have to take out of our mind. I think many a times we are misguided on this particular topic by some vested interests that it is going to take away our jobs and all this kind of a thing. No. So what happens is the consumption level increases. So if you have more money, okay, if you have more purchasing power, instead of buying one biscuit packet, tomorrow you will, along with one biscuit packet, you will buy another thing. Okay. Now, when you buy another, because today you are only buying only for survival, but tomorrow you will buy maybe something else. When you buy something else, you need people to produce those. So what happens is the overall consumption level in the country or overall consumption level in the region or the globally actually enhances. And therefore, all empirical study, whatever you do, you will find that all this digitalization, the automation, all these things have been only helping human being in terms of improving their quality of life and improving their length of life. That's for sure. You can be rest assured that it will have no negative impact over the employability. Not employability, the employment generation.
Yeah, I think Dr. Showman is with us. You would like to ask a question?
Yes. Sir, very good afternoon. I have been your another seminar in ICBM 2020. So you have said, sir, the artificial intelligence, you have shown some slide also. So do you think, sir, in Indian healthcare scenario, artificial intelligence get more success in today's condition? Because in the few months back, 2 months back, or 15 days back, one doctor from Gujarat has do the operation since from 45 kilometers ahead from the patient. So though we have been habituated with this seen in the China and all those things, but do you think that artificial intelligence can take the place of the human brain of the medical professional?
Yeah, Dr. Mukherjee, very pertinent question. So let me tell you that we are talking about any digitalization or any automation to replace the human being. Okay, what we're trying to say is that they will be supporting the human being. Okay, so for an example, if you look at, I don't think that if you ask me that will the doctors stop to be there on the world? No, that's never going to happen. Okay,
yeah.
But just imagine a village. In fact, in Tripura, I have seen. There is no hospital in the village. Okay, so if you have to reach the nearby, primary, health center. So the pregnant woman used to be carried. They used to take a lakdi and they will make it a chola like with the sari, and they will put the pregnant woman there and they will carry. Okay. Now this is something something which is impossible to think about. Okay. Now, so using artificial intelligence, if the healthcare can be provided at the doorstep. Okay.
Yes.
Wherein the doctor is not there. The country has got huge shortages of the doctors. We are one of the country where there's the least number of doctors per million or per thousand or per lakh population. Okay. So if this can be provided, the services can be provided to them. Say for an example, it's a simple. Say for example, you have a video conferencing facility and a wearable, which is given to the pregnant woman. Okay. And you really do not know when the delivery will happen. And you actually tell them that and if a doctor or not even a doctor, if a nurse is monitoring the condition and kind of a thing on a regular basis, And just on the nick of the time, either it is going to be a normal delivery or if some cesarean is to be done, the woman can be called to the primary or secondary center and it can be done. You know how many lives are even today in this country is lost, because while giving the childbirth. So what I'm trying to say is that it is not a replacement for the doctors, but it can help us. The artificial intelligence and all those things can actually help us in terms of improving the quality of the life, making the healthcare system available at a much cheaper rate. Okay, to our citizens. That's all.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
So thank you, Pallabda, for such a great deliberation. And once again, thank you so much because you are in your holiday and you are in a place at the top north side of the country. We are really grateful to you for staying with us in such a wonderful deliberation. Over to you.